been announced August 5th, version 1.8 Derieri is going to be released. So pretty exciting. It's very strange, my they have released pretty much all the my favorite sins and my one of my favorite, if not, I think my favorite um, commandment, Derieri. So on X, Twitter, they made a little trailer teaser. Now notice she has an axe here, and it looks like it's all dark damage. I'm gonna reference that in a second here. So the biggest question is, where does Derry fit in the game? Because the way the game is currently um, designed. So, and what I mean by that is, when you build out teams, typically you have one DPS and then you have subunits. The subunits could be like a burst type of unit, and then you have some type of supporting aspect, whether like Liz with her heals or boost, um, and so on. What they don't have is sub DPS. Now you can make sub DPS, but it's just not as optimal. All the like meta teams are not necessarily relying on sub DPS. The only exception that may come is with Gother, but it's very strange right now because this is not a he's not a DPS, but this does so much damage, in particular to the Durak boss. But outside of that, I don't think the wand is used for burst. So I think this is going to play into something. I don't know, but not to sidetrack away from Derry. So the challenge is Meliodas. So they can go. I can see three potential routes they can go. One is they can just power creep Melly and she become just 3 DPS. And I don't think they announced the elements right now. I think there's speculation between. Obviously, she has to be darkness. If she isn't, I think there's going to be a riot. But there's some speculation with fire and maybe physical. I don't know. It's a little odd. I mean, even fire, I can kind of see it, but it's still it just doesn't really fit with the manga. Um, but anyway, they can power creep melee completely, but then this will make melee useless. That still falls in line with gotcha games. That's what typically happens. But the good gotcha games, they still find use for the old characters, or they find ways to bring them back. Since this game has not been out that long, I don't think it's a good idea to power creep characters just yet. Maybe slowly power creep, but not outright power creep, not 3 DPS there. So what I hope they do. I'm not even at this point. I don't even know what they're doing. It's like I can't even fathom what they do. But what I hope they do is open up another meta um, team, and what I mean by that is sub DPS. So you still have primary DPS, but then if you look at the primary DPS, probably outside of Merlin, they all kind of run out of steam in a way. So if you take Melee, his main DPS is the longsword. Um, that relies on burst, right? So you have to build up burst somehow. You and then you spam his skills, and if whatever's not killed by that time, you have to build up burst and spam it again. So there's a little bit of downtime there. I think Derek can fit really well here as a support DPS. And then there's two ways of doing that. She could be a burst, so if she is fire, build up burst through fire, while at the same time doing some damage, and then uh, enable buffs, additional buffs specifically to Meliodas' axe and dual swords, not the long sword, just to bring these up to in par with the long sword. I think that would be really good from a support perspective, and also making her a sub DPS. Because if she's purely support, again, that's not going to play in line with her character. She is a damage dealing, unit. She's like a brawler, right? So that's what you want to see out of her, not to steer away from her. So I think that's one way she can be a sub DPS. Another could be, again, this is why I was thinking about Gother, is what if she also does damage but not quite the same way as Melly? So remember I mentioned Melly has that downtime between burst. Um, so after the burst is done, Melly does his thing, then she can come in, do more damage, kind of like to top it off, and it doesn't build burst. That could be another avenue, but for like big long boss battles, you're gonna obviously want to build up. Or well, I don't know. They could really do anything. Kind of like Merlin doesn't completely rely on burst. She can do a lot of damage outside of burst. Maybe Derry can do something similar to that as well. Or then I was thinking, this is what I was thinking with Gother, someone that can build up burst like almost instantly, and then switch out to melee, or even maybe switch to Derry with darkness. Then the burst would change to darkness, but maybe add something into her kit that will her skills will go on cooldown, similar to Gother's. It's like once he drops his load, he's done. There's nothing else you can do. Maybe Derry be the same thing. She drops big burst damage, then there's nothing you can do. It won't take up the entire burst bar, and then swap to melee to finish off the damage. So again, I think there's a lot of things they can do. I'm not sure what they're going to do though. All I gotta say is do not mess up Derry. If you mess up Derry, that is going to be another nail in the coffin. I don't think it'll be the final nail, but it the prospects is not looking that great right now. And this gets into a whole nother thing that I don't necessarily want to discuss in this video, just kind of the overall state of the game. But with Derry in particular, don't mess this one up. I can't stress that enough. So, anyways, that's kind of my take. We'll see what they actually do here. Hopefully, they I don't know. They really make her find her place in the game, let her shine without power creeping melee, and um, again, yeah, we'll just see where this goes.